I've encountered another person, yet I find myself reluctant to part ways with you. I crave something more, a change, perhaps even another person from time to time. She nodded, as though it were the most sensible thing imaginable. She mentioned it would be merely a casual affair. I would always be open with you, and I believe it wouldn't impact our connection. Welcome to Addy Story, where we share real-life stories that touch the heart and inspire the soul. Subscribe now to join our community, relax, and dive into the stories we have for you. Enjoy. Hello, everyone. It's surprising to find myself sharing my story in this space, but life has a knack for catching us off guard when we least anticipate it. My name is Ellis, and for the last decade, I shared my life with a woman named Wren. We enjoyed what I believed was a rather fulfilling life. Indeed, we experienced our share of highs and lows, much like any other couple. Yet nothing could have equipped me for the events that unfolded that Wednesday evening. Upon returning home from work, I found Wren patiently waiting for me at the table. These days, when a partner says, "We need to talk," it seldom brings pleasant tidings, does it? She invited me to take a seat, and as soon as I met her gaze, I sensed that something was amiss. A strange, jittery energy hung in the atmosphere, twisting my stomach in knots. "I have something to share with you, but you must promise not to be upset," she started. I remained silent, patiently awaiting her next words. She inhaled deeply and continued, "Ellis, you know how much I care for you, and I would never want to cause you pain, but I feel it's crucial to be truthful with you because our relationship matters to me." The remark caught me off guard, and a sudden wave of unease washed over me. Then she unleashed the revelation. "I've encountered another person, yet I find myself reluctant to part ways with you," she expressed. "I can't shake the feeling that I crave something more, a change, perhaps even another person from time to time. I desire to find a romantic partner." I remained seated, in disbelief, struggling to comprehend the words that reached my ears. "So, let me clarify," I said, striving to maintain a steady tone. "You have feelings for me, wish to be with me, yet you also desire to be intimate with another person on the side." She nodded, as though it were the most sensible thing imaginable. She mentioned it would be merely a casual affair. "I would always be open with you, and I believe it wouldn't impact our connection. I still have feelings for you, Ellis, but this is something I must do. If you truly care for me, you'll comprehend." Honestly, I was completely baffled by how she could believe this wouldn't disrupt our marriage. "Have you mapped this out yet?" I inquired, still attempting to comprehend it fully. "Indeed," she responded. "We were considering a getaway for next weekend." That was the final tipping point. "All right, Wren," I asked. "How would you react if I mentioned that I wanted to be with another woman? Are you okay with that?" She paused briefly, evidently taken by surprise. "I believe I could accept it, provided it doesn't impact us." A bitter laugh escaped me. "You know very well that you wouldn't be okay with it, Wren," I retorted. "If the situation were flipped, you would be going absolutely crazy. Did you honestly believe I would just accept this?" Her expression shifted, and she quietly remarked that she hadn't anticipated my anger. "I believed you cared for me enough to allow this," she murmured softly. "Whatever you're indulging in, it's against the law," I retorted. "Did you really believe I would be okay with you spending a weekend with another guy while I'm here at home? Have you lost your senses?" She appeared visibly unsettled. I I never expected you to decline. Clearly, you didn't consider all the angles on this one, did you? I declared, rising to my feet. Allow me a few days to ponder this matter. Let's reconvene on Sunday. With that, I made my way to our bedroom and began to gather my belongings. I was settling into the guest room. What are you doing? She inquired, her voice quivering slightly. I firmly expressed that I have no interest in sharing a bed with someone whose thoughts are occupied by another man rather than me. Then I forcefully closed the door behind me. That night, I hardly found rest, tossing and turning in the guest room, my thoughts swirling endlessly. I was certain of one thing. If she proceeded with this, our marriage would be finished. That level of betrayal is something I simply couldn't endure. Yet, I had a strategy in mind. The following morning, I departed from the house at my regular hour, remaining silent in her presence. The following morning, I reached out to my workplace and informed them that I required a few days off for personal matters. With their support, I dedicated the day to putting my plan into action. I refused to simply sit back and allow Wren to act freely without being fully informed about everything. If she truly intended to follow through with this, I had to be ready. Initially, I ventured out and purchased 3 voice-activated recorders. I positioned one by the home phone, another in our bedroom, and the final one in her car. I successfully acquired a phone tap recorder, which I connected to our landline. After that, I made my way to the cell phone provider, as the account was registered in my name. Gaining access to Wren's phone records was a straightforward task. What I discovered was quite enlightening, to say the least. Upon arriving home, I delved into her email accounts. There was one I had no idea was there, yet the password was quite easy to decipher. What I discovered within those messages validated my suspicions. She and her so-called lover, a man named Jett, had been corresponding through emails, and they were making arrangements to escape together that very weekend. At least I took some comfort in realizing they hadn't crossed that line yet. I configured her email to automatically forward any incoming messages to me, ensuring I stayed updated on their communications in real time. At last, I acquired a few compact GPS trackers. One was tucked away in her wallet, while the other found a home in her car. By the day's conclusion, I had arranged everything to monitor her every action. At this point, it was simply a question of patience. As Friday approached, I resolved to elevate my efforts. I reached out to a divorce attorney who came highly recommended by a friend. I presented all the details to him, the emails, the phone records, and my intentions to collect additional evidence. He expressed his admiration and concurred that we could proceed with filing for divorce based on adultery, provided I had solid evidence to support the claim. He also proposed that we take legal action against Jett for alienation of affection, a course of action I hadn't even thought about. What I required at this moment was undeniable proof of the affair, and I was resolute in my pursuit of it. That evening, Wren returned home, just like she always did. I remained silent in her presence. As she began preparing dinner, I took my keys and made my way to a bar. I wasn't inclined towards trivial chatter or feigning that all was well. I required a moment of solitude to gather my thoughts and prepare for the inevitable. Later that night, upon my return, she attempted to engage me in conversation. However, I found myself disinterested in her words. I strode past her, offering no acknowledgement, and shut myself away in the guest room. At this juncture, it became evident that the sole path to redeeming our marriage hinged on her decision to call off her plans with Jett. Yet, beneath the surface, I understood that this outcome was unlikely. On Saturday morning, I chose to disregard her entirely. I had no desire to partake in any dialogue, nor did I wish to meet her gaze. By Sunday, the moment had arrived for the conversation we had planned. We gathered in the kitchen, reminiscent of the times when life felt uncomplicated. "Have you considered what I mentioned?" I inquired directly, cutting to the chase. "I have," she stated, her tone resolute. I remained determined to see it through. I sensed a heaviness in my chest, yet I maintained a steady tone. "Wren, this will ruin everything we've built together. It's hard to imagine that this won't alter our relationship in some way." "I believe you're exaggerating," she remarked, folding her arms defensively. "Perhaps if you considered my perspective, you might grasp the situation better." "I considered it from your viewpoint," I retorted. "I just don't envision a positive outcome from this situation. Therefore, my response is negative." She exhaled sharply in annoyance, evidently surprised that I was holding my position. "What makes you think you can act so self-centered? If you truly cared for me, you would allow me to pursue this." "I am the one who thinks of myself," I remarked, almost chuckling at the ridiculousness of the situation. "You desire to be with someone else, yet I'm the one being selfish for refusing." "Really, Wren, that's just absurd." A lengthy silence hung in the air before she inquired, "What occurs if I proceed regardless?" I gazed directly into her eyes. "Consequences will follow. Grave repercussions. We exchanged promises when we tied the knot. We vowed to remain loyal to one another. If you fail to uphold that promise, it's over between us." She remained silent for a moment, simply gazing at me, and then softly responded, "I suppose this conversation has come to an end." I rose from the table and stepped out of the house. I had come to a decision. The point of no return had been reached. If she went ahead with her intentions, I would be initiating divorce proceedings. As Thursday approached, I found myself fully prepared for the weekend ahead. The breaking point arrived when I revisited Wren's emails once more. She and Jett had solidified their arrangements. He reserved a suite at an upscale hotel in Boulder City. They planned to gather on Friday afternoon and enjoy the weekend together. Their conversation made it sound like they were arranging a charming escape rather than engaging in infidelity. What truly unsettled me was Wren's apparent indifference. It felt as though my emotions were completely disregarded in her choice. I secured the identical hotel room they intended to occupy, but I made the reservation for Thursday night, the evening prior to their scheduled meeting. My objective was straightforward. I aimed to install cameras in the room to document every event that unfolded, not only to safeguard myself throughout the divorce, but also to ensure I gathered sufficient evidence to take legal action against Jett for alienation of affection. This had evolved beyond merely dissolving my marriage. It was now about ensuring that both of them faced the consequences. That afternoon, I decided to take a break from work and made my way to Boulder City. I arrived at their hotel room and dedicated a few hours to arranging everything just right. The compact fiber optic cameras were discreet and ideal for capturing the footage I required. I evaluated each one to ensure they functioned correctly. Once everything was set, I made my way home, experiencing a blend of frustration, sorrow, and a dark sense of fulfillment. Upon returning home, I made a final visit to a store and purchased a small can of pepper spray. I came up with a thoughtful idea for a small farewell present for Wren and Jett. That evening, Wren pretended as if all was well, as if she weren't on the brink of unraveling our marriage the following day. Her calmness was nearly remarkable. In that moment, I found it almost unbearable to meet her gaze. As Friday morning dawned, I rose with the sun, eager to embrace the day ahead. Unbeknownst to Wren, I had taken the decisive step of signing the divorce papers at my lawyer's office just the day before. What I required at this moment was the proof, which I would obtain by the conclusion of the weekend. The strategy was straightforward. Deliver the divorce papers to her workplace on Monday, ensuring that Jett received his too. I looked at Wren's GPS tracker and noticed she was at a salon, likely preparing her hair for the exciting weekend ahead. During her absence, I rummaged through her suitcase. I discovered the new lingerie she had purchased for Jett, a piece she had never donned for me. It's foolish, yet I had anticipated it. In that moment, I reached for the pepper spray. I applied it directly to the fabric of her panties and the cups of her bra. It may have seemed trivial, but given all that she had been putting me through, I felt I had earned this brief moment of gratification. Having completed that task, I shut her suitcase and returned it to its original state. Next, I made my way to the bank. I shut down all of our shared accounts and moved the funds into a new account solely in my name. I went ahead and canceled all the credit cards that were in both of our names. Following that, I journeyed back home, prepared to bid my last farewell. At approximately 12:30, I was aware that Wren would be preparing herself. I ascended the stairs to her room and discovered her poised before the mirror, clad in the lingerie she had purchased for Jett. As I stepped inside, her gaze met mine, and for a fleeting moment, an uncomfortable silence hung in the air. "You really put in a lot of effort for him, didn't you?" I remarked, my tone laced with irony. She averted her gaze, yet I had more to say. "It's unfortunate that you didn't put in the same level of effort for me." "Ellis, it's not what you think," she said, her voice trembling, as if she realized she had forfeited any advantage she once held with me. All I wanted was to experience a sense of well-being, nothing more. "You aim to leave a lasting impression on him," I retorted. "Your concern for his opinion outweighs the reflections I've had over the past 10 years. She remained silent, and honestly, I had no desire to listen to any justifications. I approached her, gently grasped her left hand, and started to slide her wedding ring off. "This held significance for me," I murmured, "but not for you. I don't want you to wear the ring I gave you while you're out there being intimate with someone else." She remained still, her gaze fixed on me as I quietly tucked the engagement ring and wedding band into my pocket. "The engagement ring belonged to my mother," I added. "I will be holding on to that." I released her hand and took a step back. "Listen, Wren, I won't be around when he comes to get you. However, I must emphasize, do not allow him into this house. Should you proceed, the consequences will be severe. Are you following me?" She nodded, her expression one of disbelief. "I shall not, I assure you." "Very well," I remarked, pivoting to depart. "I will be observing closely." As I stepped outside, her voice echoed my name, yet I chose not to look back. I was already convinced. I had reached my limit. I positioned my vehicle along the road, ensuring I could observe the house discreetly, remaining out of sight. A part of me wished for her to reconsider, yet I understood, deep within, that she wouldn't. This was her identity at this moment. After a few hours, Jett's car arrived. I observed him as he approached the door and pressed the bell. Wren emerged, suitcase in hand, and what was her next move? She pressed her lips against his in a lingering, profound kiss right there on the front porch. Then, she glanced my way, as though she sensed my gaze, and smiled. That infuriating grin was the final tipping point for me. I raised my middle finger as they pulled away, and her smile vanished. I headed directly to Boulder City, checked into a hotel room close to theirs, and got my laptop ready. As I activated the cameras, I caught sight of them stepping into the room. They quickly shed their clothes, and I noticed Jett awkwardly navigating the sheets with her. It didn't take long to notice something that nearly brought a smile to my face. Jett wasn't exactly packing, if you know what I mean. Wren had exchanged a decade-long marriage for a man who, to put it mildly, wasn't contributing much to their relationship. It may have been trivial, I admit, but witnessing the scene play out filled me with an unexpected sense of fulfillment. She discarded all that we shared for this. What a terrible exchange. Jett's performance was short-lived, and the expression on Wren's face clearly indicated her disappointment. In that moment, it became clear to me that my choice was indeed the correct one. Not only was she betraying me, but she was also subjecting herself to humiliation. Unable to endure their lamentable spectacle any longer, I decided to leave everything recording and stepped out for a drink. Upon my return to the hotel later that night, I found them already in slumber. Wren wore a mask of frustration, while Jett exuded a sense of self-satisfaction. I no longer cared. I possessed the necessary footage to proceed with the divorce. Everything else was merely an added delight. The following morning, I arose with a sense of renewal that I hadn't experienced in days. I enjoyed a quick breakfast, gathered a selection of snacks, and ensured that all was still being recorded in their room. I wasn't merely gathering proof, I was relishing each second of their downfall. The realization that this weekend was unfolding far from Wren's expectations brought me a feeling of satisfaction. In the late morning hours, I reached out to a nearby florist. Each year on our anniversary, I would gift Wren a bouquet of flowers, consistently choosing the same arrangement. However, this year, I envisioned something different. I arranged for the precise bouquet to be sent to their hotel room, complete with a card. I chose not to sign it. The flowers alone would surely irritate her. The timing was impeccable. They stepped out for a while and came back just as the flowers were delivered. I observed through the lenses as Wren's expression shifted from astonishment to unease the instant she laid eyes on them. As she unfolded the card, I could sense her suspicion rising, even though the words remained hidden from my view. Before too long, my phone began to ring. It was indeed Wren. "Greetings," I responded, feigning ignorance. "Did you send me these flowers?" she inquired, her voice taut with anticipation. "What would compel me to send you flowers, Wren? You find yourself in the company of Jett. Did he overlook getting some for you? They resemble the ones you consistently send me for our anniversary. I am aware that you sent them." A chilling laugh escaped my lips. "To begin with, you and your boyfriend didn't inform me of your whereabouts, leaving me clueless about where to send the flowers. Secondly, had I sent you something, it certainly wouldn't have been flowers. It would have been poison ivy instead. Have a wonderful weekend with Jett, Wren. Please refrain from calling me again." Before she had the chance to utter another syllable, I ended the call. I noticed her reaching for my number once more, yet I chose not to respond. She discarded the flowers into the trash, visibly shaken by the memory of what she was letting go. That was just the start of my adventure. Armed with their room number and witnessing the unraveling of their weekend, I chose to escalate the situation. After some time, they found themselves back in bed, with Jett attempting to give it another shot. I thought this was the ideal opportunity to have a pizza delivered to their room, the one Wren loves most. I reached out to the hotel's preferred delivery service and made an order under her name. Approximately 10 minutes into their intimate encounter, a knock echoed at the door. A figure appeared at the door, holding a box, inquiring about the payment. Jett, already vexed by the disruption, found himself compelled to address it. Upon his refusal to settle the bill, the delivery man pressed on, asserting that the room number and phone number were in alignment, and warned of involving the authorities if payment was not forthcoming. Jett finally relented and covered the cost of the pizza, his demeanor noticeably darkened. They consumed it, likely out of a desire to avoid waste, yet the palpable tension in the air revealed that this was far from the romantic weekend they had envisioned. Later, after they had finished their meal and were attempting to unwind, I resolved to approach them once more. This time, I reached out to a sandwich shop and placed an order for Wren's favorite sub to be delivered. When it finally came, Jett was once more positioned above her, and the sound of the knock at the door ignited a fierce anger within him. Meanwhile, Wren was beginning to connect the dots. "He knows where we are," she said, her complexion drained as she gazed at the sandwich. "He's toying with us." Jett struggled to accept the truth, yet she detailed how I had breached her email and must have uncovered their intentions. A smile crept onto my face as I observed her moment of realization unfold. She was aware that I had the upper hand, and she understood there was no chance I would allow this weekend to unfold without a hitch. They chose to step out for a bit, likely to escape the constant flow of deliveries. I lingered, chuckling quietly as I envisioned their escalating annoyance. I was certain this was far from finished. Upon their return, they indulged in a refreshing shower and prepared themselves for an enchanting evening filled with romance. Wren retrieved her alluring lingerie, the very set I had doused with pepper spray, and began to put it on. She even spun around for Jett, showcasing her outfit. He was keen to entice her back to the bedroom, yet she firmly suggested they postpone it until after dinner. I reclined in my hotel room, observing the cameras and anticipating the effects of the pepper spray. It was a brief moment. Shortly after their night out, Wren dashed into the bathroom, ripping off her clothes. As she stepped out, her skin glowed a vivid red, and it was clear that she was experiencing intense discomfort. Her chest and crotch bore red splotches, and it was evident that she felt quite uneasy. She attempted to rest, yet each time Jett reached out to her, she would retort sharply, insisting that the pain was too overwhelming. He appeared perplexed, inquiring whether she had an allergy to something in the lingerie. Wren found herself utterly bewildered, and it was clear that the evening had taken a turn for the worse. Any further romantic encounters were out of the question, especially with her in that condition. I found myself chuckling uncontrollably. Fate had fulfilled its purpose. Sunday morning dawned, and I sensed that the conclusion was approaching. With a sense of fulfillment from the weekend's events, I gathered my belongings and made my way home. Wren and Jett braced themselves for one final tumultuous encounter before everything erupted into chaos. Upon my return, I ensured that everything at the house was perfectly prepared for her arrival. The locks were replaced, and I had gathered the majority of her things, putting them into garbage bags by the entrance. She would not remain here a moment longer than required. In the early hours of the afternoon, Wren returned home. As I lounged on the couch, engrossed in the football game, I feigned indifference to her entrance. Her gaze met mine, a curious blend of anticipation and unease swirling in her eyes. "I'm back," she declared, as if it were just another ordinary moment. I hardly took a moment to look at her. "Indeed, I understand that," I responded, my tone as monotone as possible. She strolled past me in the television, attempting to draw my gaze, and offered me a subtle smile. "Isn't it delightful to be reunited?" At last, I shifted my gaze to her. "Joyful." I let out a derisive laugh. "What in the world leads you to believe I would be pleased to see you? Do you really believe I lost my intelligence over the weekend?" "I am fully aware of your actions." Her expression was one of surprise, as though my directness caught her off guard. "I didn't realize it would affect you like this," she murmured. "I had a feeling you would. I'm not sure. Just move on from it." I couldn't help but shake my head, disbelief washing over me at the words being spoken. "Wren, I poured my heart into loving you, but the instant you left this house with him, it marked the end for me. You shattered my heart, and now, your return means nothing to me." Emotion flooded her as she moved nearer, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "I realize I've made a significant error," she confessed, her voice quivering. "Surely we can navigate this together, right? I am willing to go to great lengths to make amends with you." I rose to my feet and met her gaze directly. "Everything?" I inquired, my tone icy. "Then humble yourself and plead for my pardon. Perhaps at that point I might give it some thought." She paused, clearly taken aback by that. "I can't do that," she whispered. "Precisely," I remarked, stepping back. "You're not even going to attempt that. So spare me the nonsense about doing anything. You created your situation. Now deal with it." She made another attempt, her voice filled with urgency. "Dear Ellis, my affection for you runs deep. You were on my mind the entire journey back. I desire to be by your side." A bitter laugh escaped me. "Do you wish to join me at this moment, following your activities throughout the weekend? Can I ask you a question? Did Jett always use a condom?" She gazed at me, utterly astonished. "No, however. I'm unable to conceive, and he is already committed to someone else. He's tidy, Ellis. It wasn't that way." I turned my head away in revulsion. "You may not be aware of that. Do you really believe you're the only woman he's used that line on? In my view, you've become irreparably flawed. I won't be getting close until you've had a complete checkup. And even then, I doubt I could ever find myself with you again." Her expression shattered. "I'm certain he's clean, Ellis. However, if you prefer, a condom can be utilized." I interrupted her, the fury bubbling up once more. "Indeed, you want me to take precautions with my own wife just because you couldn't control yourself with someone unworthy. That won't be happening." She made one final attempt. "I truly desire to share an intimate connection with you this evening. Your presence is essential to me, Ellis." "Engage in a passionate embrace," I replied, shaking my head. "You didn't share an intimate moment with him. You messed with him. There's absolutely no chance I'm sharing a bed with you after that. Honestly, I have no desire to even glance your way this evening. The guest room is available for you to sleep in. I'll claim the master bedroom, considering I haven't done anything to deserve otherwise." Her expression dimmed, yet she remained silent. She realized she had been defeated in this struggle. "Can we at least talk about it?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I suggested we chat tomorrow once you return from work, as I made my way to the door. However, I find myself at a loss for additional words. I stepped out of the house and made my way to a nearby bar, seeking a moment to gather my thoughts. I had no desire for a drink. I simply needed to distance myself from her. In reality, my decision was already set in stone. This union was beyond saving, and no plea or conversation could alter that reality. Upon returning home later that night, I discovered her resting in our bed. "Leave," I commanded with conviction. "Your time here has come to an end. This is our bed," she insisted, though her tone betrayed uncertainty. "I possess an equal claim to it as you do." "You relinquished that right the instant you left with him," I retorted. "So either leave on your own, or I will have to remove you myself." She wept for a moment, yet she rose and exited the room. I shut and secured the door after her, tuning out the echoes of her weeping as she made her way down the corridor. It was no longer significant. There was nothing she could articulate or attempt that would mend what had been shattered. The following morning, I hardly noticed her as she prepared for her job. With tears glistening in her eyes, she gazed at me and whispered, "I love you, Ellis." I offered nothing but a frosty, detached gaze. "I once loved you as well," I responded, stressing the past tense. As she turned and departed from the house, the tears began to stream once more. Once she left, I started gathering the remainder of her belongings and placing them into trash bags. It was the moment for her to exit my life permanently. Once Wren departed for her job that morning, I dove into my tasks with determination. I gathered all her leftover possessions into garbage bags and set them by the front door. Each item seemed to carry away a fragment of my history, a life that had become unrecognizable to me. When all was set, I finally dialed the number I had been anticipating. I contacted Sloane, Jett's wife. She answered the phone, her surprise evident at my call. "Hello, Sloane. This is Ellis, Wren's husband," I stated, my tone steady yet assertive. "Are you aware of Jett's whereabouts over the weekend?" Sloane paused, her voice wavering. "He mentioned that he was away on a business trip. What is the reason?" I inhaled deeply. "He was not away for work. He dedicated the weekend to my wife, Wren. I possess all the evidence you require. Emails, texts, and everything in between. If you're interested in uncovering the truth, I'm ready to share it with you." Silence enveloped the conversation, and then her voice trembled through the receiver. "Evidence is at hand." "Indeed," I asserted with conviction. "I can send it your way. Or even better, let's get together, and I'll reveal it all to you." Much to my astonishment, Sloane consented. We scheduled a meeting for later that afternoon. Upon my arrival at her residence, I found myself quite astonished. Sloane was breathtaking, tall, blonde, and strikingly beautiful, leaving me to ponder how Jett could be so naive. It was clear she was just as taken aback to see me, yet we chose not to linger on it. There was an abundance of topics to explore. I presented all the details to her. The emails exchanged between Jett and Wren, the phone records, and the video evidence I had compiled over the weekend. She was seething, yet she maintained her composure. After a lengthy conversation, Sloane ultimately chose to enlist my divorce lawyer for her own case as well. The attorney consented to represent both of us and even proposed a reduced fee for managing our cases concurrently. Upon exiting the office, Sloane expressed her gratitude for my honesty. "I can't believe this is happening," she said, her voice thick with feeling. "I understand," I responded. "Yet, we shall persevere. We are entitled to something far superior." After exchanging our farewells, I made my way back home, prepared for the journey ahead. Before I knew it, my phone began to ring. It was Wren, her voice laced with urgency. "What on earth is happening, Ellis?" she shouted. "I just received divorce papers while at work. And Jett received documents as well. He's facing a lawsuit over something. What on earth is this?" I didn't see the point in feigning sympathy. It's precisely what I warned you would occur if you proceeded with your weekend escapade. Repercussions, Wren. Did you honestly believe there would be none? "I never imagined you would go through with this," she murmured, her voice barely above a whisper, filled with a sense of resignation. "It seems you were mistaken. When you return to the house, we can delve into it further. I'm finished with this discussion for the time being." I ended the call before she had the chance to utter another word. After that, I stepped outside, collected the garbage bags filled with her belongings, and threw them into the front yard. I had reached my limit with kindness. She had made her decisions, and now she would have to face the consequences. As Wren drove into the driveway later that day, she erupted from the car, her face flushed with fury. The instant she laid eyes on her belongings strewn across the lawn, she erupted into a furious scream directed at me. "How could you do this to me?" she cried out, her voice trembling with fury as she glared at me, anger spilling from her lips. "Everything is being ruined." I remained poised and composed, observing her come apart at the seams. "I didn't mess anything up, Wren. You made that decision entirely by yourself when you picked him instead of me. You are the reason our marriage fell apart." She was weeping now, her words scarcely intelligible as she continued to shout. "I believed you had feelings for me. I truly loved you," I murmured softly. "I cherished you above all else. Yet, you never truly loved me. If you truly understood, you wouldn't have acted as you did. You discarded us." Her tears continued to fall, yet I had reached my limit. "It's time for you to go now. Gather your belongings and leave. Your presence is no longer warranted." She remained silent. She understood that it had come to an end. With trembling hands, she gathered her belongings, the sound of her sobs echoing in the stillness as she placed them into her car. I presented her with one last token before her departure, the wedding ring I had previously taken from her. I had pounded it down, transforming it into mere scrap metal. "Here," I remarked, letting the ring fall into her palm. "It holds no value now, much like our union. Perhaps you could consider pawning it." I leaned in and pressed my lips softly against her forehead, knowing it was the final moment I would ever have that connection with her. "Farewell, Wren," I murmured, and then I pivoted and stepped back into the house, not glancing over my shoulder. For the next hour, I remained in my vacant house, tears cascading down my cheeks as I released all the hurt and frustration I had been bottling up. I wept until every tear was spent. Then I rose, cleared my face, and made a decision. I refused to let this defeat me. I faced three choices: succumb to the bottle, act impulsively and bring everything to a close, or forge ahead with my life, confident that I'd done nothing amiss. The response was unmistakable. I refused to allow Wren or Jett to bring me down. I had committed no offense, and I was worthy of more. That evening, I dialed Sloane's number. Having already connected through the tumult of our common circumstances, I thought dinner would be a welcome addition. She consented to meet, and as we ended the call, a sensation I hadn't experienced in ages washed over me. Hope. Perhaps we would remain friends, or perhaps it could evolve into something deeper. No matter the circumstances, I was aware that I was progressing. As I lingered in thought, reflecting on all that had transpired, a subtle smile began to form on my lips. Though Wren may have shattered my heart, she did not shatter my spirit. I felt liberated. That concludes my narrative. Should you find yourself in a similar situation, remember that there is a future beyond betrayal. At times, choosing to step back is the wisest choice you can embrace. Thanks for watching this story on Addy's Story. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, share, and hit that subscribe button so you never miss a new tale. Stay tuned for more, and until next time, take care and keep living your own amazing stories.